Today, we are diving deep into a single mineral. It's one that holds the key to your heartbeat, your muscle movements, even your nerve signals. Really, it's a story all about one thing: a perfect and absolutely non negotiable balance. So let me ask you this. What if I told you there's a mineral that basically acts like a bouncer for your heart and your nerve cells? It stands at the door deciding who gets in, who gets out, and when the party just needs to calm down a little. Yup, you guessed it, it's magnesium. Now, it might not get the same kind of hype as calcium or iron, but without this quiet gatekeeper, the very systems that keep us alive would just spiral into chaos. Let's get into how. So, what do we actually mean when we call it the body's balancer? Well, it means magnesium is the great regulator. It's that calm, steady hand that tells our most excitable cells, yeah, I'm talking about our nerves and muscles, when to fire, and just as important, when to relax. But see, magnesium doesn't work alone. It's got a crucial partner, calcium. Think of them like dance partners, right? Calcium is the contractor. It's the one that makes muscles tense up and nerves fire off. But then magnesium, our relaxer, steps in and says, okay, that's enough, calm down. This perfect push and pull, that's what allows our hearts to beat and our muscles to move. And for all of this to work, the concentration of magnesium in our blood has to stay within this incredibly narrow, precise range, just 1.6 to 2.2 milligrams per deciliter. I mean, it is a constant tightrope walk that our body performs every single day. So the obvious question is, what happens when we fall off that tightrope? What happens when there's too little magnesium or way too much? Well, this is where things can get really dangerous. First, let's look at what happens when we don't have enough. This condition is called hypomagnesemia. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like you're driving a car with the accelerator just jammed to the floor. Everything becomes overstimulated. So, medically speaking, this means the magnesium level in your blood has dropped below that 1.6 mg per deciliter floor. The relaxer has basically left the building, leaving calcium's go, go, go signal completely unchecked. So how does this even happen? Well, sometimes it's as simple as not getting enough magnesium in our diet. Other times, the body's just losing too much of it. This can be caused by things like alcoholism, digestive diseases, or even certain medications that make you flush it all out. And this gets right to the heart of the problem. Low magnesium increases neuromuscular excitability. Without enough of that relaxer mineral, our nerves and muscles get incredibly sensitive. They start firing off at the slightest little thing. Doctors can actually see this overexcitement in a couple of really interesting ways. There's something called the Truex sign, where a simple tap on the cheek makes all the facial muscles twitch. And then there's the Trousseau sign, where just inflating a blood pressure cuff causes the whole hand to cramp up. Both are dead giveaways that the nervous system is on high alert. And this is where it gets truly terrifying. That stuck accelerator doesn't just affect your face or your hand, it affects your heart. An overexcited heart muscle can lead to these chaotic, life-threatening rhythms that can actually cause the heart to stop beating properly. Okay, let's completely flip the script and go to the other side of the spectrum. What if you have too much magnesium? This is called hypermagnesemia, and it's the exact opposite problem. Instead of a stuck accelerator, it's like someone just slammed on the brakes. And the relationship it's perfectly symmetrical. While low magnesium excites the system, high magnesium depresses it. Suddenly, there's way too much of the relaxer in the room, and it's basically putting everything to sleep. So in medical terms, hypermagnesemia means the magnesium level has climbed above that 2.2 milligrams per deciliter upper limit. The body is now just overwhelmed with the calm down signal, and that leads to a dangerous slowdown of all your critical functions. Now, this condition is much, much rarer than having low magnesium, and there's a really specific reason for that. It's almost always caused by kidney failure. You see, healthy kidneys are fantastic at filtering out any extra magnesium we don't need, but when they fail, that mineral just builds and builds and builds up to toxic levels. And the progression here is just dangerously systematic. It starts with feeling tired and drowsy. Then your muscles get weak, your blood pressure drops, your heart rate slows to a crawl, and eventually the muscles that control your breathing can become so weak that they just stop working. So, okay, we've seen the two dangerous extremes. How do doctors pull someone back from the edge? Well, the goal is pretty simple. Get them back into that just right zone. And the treatment is basically a mirror image of the problem itself. which makes perfect sense. If you have too little, the goal is to add it back, usually with IV magnesium or oral supplements. And if you have too much, the goal is to remove it, either by helping the kidneys flush it out or by using dialysis if the kidneys have already failed. So after looking at both sides of this coin, the too little and the too much, we arrive at the single most important takeaway from all of this. This right here is the whole story. For our heart and our nerves to function the way they're supposed to, magnesium must be in balance. Too little, and you risk a fatal overstimulation. Too much, and you risk a fatal slowdown. That equilibrium, it is simply non-negotiable. And that really leaves us with a final thought. Magnesium does this incredible life-sustaining work, but it does it quietly in the background. So the question is, are we paying enough attention to this silent gatekeeper and the critical balance it maintains in our own bodies?